Hi, and welcome to Tremco Live, where we're socially distant but technically connected. I am your host, Marcy, and very excited to be with you guys this Friday and every Friday. We are coming live from Tremco, the headquarters in Cleveland, Ohio, but I am actually wasn't able to go to the room I usually am because we're doing some construction there. So got my nice Tremco background here instead of our normal setup, but we'll be back at that same location next week and hopefully to come to you live from our test facility once Dante Marin Petrie cleans up all the debris chamber being installed. So we're pretty excited about that. So Nick, you want to go ahead and push the slides for me? So as I was mentioning, this is Industry Association Month, and we wanted to highlight different industry associations that are contributing on a regular basis to our industry. So last month we had Scott Robertson from EMA. Next week we will have Kelly McBride from SWRI, and this week we are going to be talking with Craig Wetmore. Before we do that, I just wanted to kind of reiterate some of the things that are occurring in our industry, things that you're seeing on LinkedIn, and I did feature this information on a past Tremco Live. It just really bringing that relevance of something that's very near and dear to me, which is the air barrier world and building science, but lots of different contributors that you can see throughout our industry. We have Mark Howell, who posted all about some testing that they're doing out in the field. We've got Jeff Poe from Terracon talking about air barrier testing. We got Philip Emery talking about in the state of Washington how they're going to be doing and enforcing air leakage testing, and it shows those requirements. We've got air barrier testing being discussed by Alana Buick and Beers, and right in the middle, which is our feature today, is ABAA, the Air Barrier Association of America, featuring its board members. Each board member has been highlighted throughout the last couple of weeks. If you aren't following the Air Barrier Association of America, I highly recommend that you do. Lots of information is shared that way. What was highlighted a few weeks ago was Craig Wetmore. Here's some information about him when he was put in that spotlight, and you can see that he's been very much involved in the Air Barrier Association for many years. It looks like 11 years, and I think I've known you that whole time. So Craig, welcome to Tremco Live.
There we go. Thank you, Marcy. I appreciate that. All right, so hi everyone, Craig Wetmore. I'm the guy who loves flashings. I think that's probably the most accurate description out of everything that you see up on the screen. And as a flashings,
that's where it's important to say that correctly, right? A guy who loves flashings.
The flashings, yes. No, the S is critical. It keeps you out of a lot of trouble. Exactly. So, but I got involved with the Air Barrier Association around 11 years ago because everything in the wall is connected and compatibility issues, all that sort of stuff. And I've just loved working with this group. I'm also involved with ASTM. I'm on several committees and voting member there. I do a lot with IBEC and RAINA, if you're not familiar with them yet, but RAINA is the new Rain Screen Association, and a neat organization. If I do sound funny or I say something wicked off, I'm from Maine. We do stuff like that. So I'm sure, Marcy, you can do some translations for me, something like that.
Absolutely.
And so
we'll let the Buffalo girl help you out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Marcy, when I started, I think you were on the board of directors at ABAA, if I'm correct.
I think I was. That's right.
Yeah. So that's me. And one of the things, Marcy, that mutual friends of ours, folks like Andre Desjardins, Chris Mathis, some people that I truly look up to in this industry, when I get to sit down with them and talk with them, they always say the ABAA is one of the only organizations that does stuff. And that's why I love being part of this organization, is we're actively trying to make the industry better. And it's not just through, working with ASTM and ASHRAE and that sort of stuff, but we're training folks. And that's the biggest thing. It's when you look at the ABAA, most organizations are mostly manufacturers. When you look at the Air Barrier Association, what you see up on the screen, the vast majority of our members are contractors, are the people who are installing it. And please note that the ABAA, we don't count people, we count organizations. So for example, Tremco you have a lot of folks working with ABAA. In fact, the chairperson, Brian Stroik. But for all the people who, Vanessa's on one of my committees, so there are a lot of great people working with ABAA, but Tremco only counts as one. So when you take a look at this, the vast majority of people with the ABAA are contractors. The next biggest group are consultants. So we're trying to, I think it's a really interesting group where everybody's voice is heard, and we're trying to tackle the issues of the industry together instead of individually. Instead of, a magic bullet from someone, we're working to make it better for all.
And I think just even within that, the camaraderie that exists that I saw years ago, and I knew one of our focuses back then was to get more contractor and consultant involvement. And obviously you can see that, through the years, we've definitely grown in those areas. So it's great that that happens. And it definitely feels that you feel that support through the education. I attended, I think, 9 of the ABAA installer trainings along with Peter Spafford. So I know how those classes are run and how that engagement works. And I think the most important thing that comes out of that education, not only the camaraderie, obviously, but the resources that they're highlighted to, and then also the important job that they're doing as that installer is definitely made aware.
Absolutely, Marcy. But it's also one of the big things for me is if I learn something in a classroom setting, and which that training's several days, and I go back and I don't use it for 2 or 3 weeks. I think we've all taken a course at some point in time, and you go, I remember they said hit Alt Delete 7 or something like that, and you're like, I don't remember it.
Yeah.
They just call, right? They're in the field. They're one of the certified installers. They not only do they have the manual, they can just call. There's a great resource staff there to help them out, and we want to help them get it right. Nobody wants a leaky building. So I think it's just super important that everybody understands the mix and what we're trying to get accomplished.
Let's take a look at those steps that the Air Barrier Association of America is taking to support all of their members.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Marcy, you were on the board a decade ago. When air barriers were first coming out, people were like, paint, that's an air barrier. Everything was an air barrier. So to keep it from being the wild, wild west, the ABA really got into it and made sure that we have evaluated materials. And so if you want to have a material that is an evaluated product, they're all listed on ABA's website. And if it's not an evaluated product, you really ought to question what they're doing. In fact, question whether or not that should be the material that you're using, because it isn't just the codes. It isn't just E2178, that sort of stuff, because that's the bare minimum. Right? I always love telling people that when they say we meet code. I'm like, well, that's the worst you can be. I mean, that's the absolute bottom you can be. So we want to make sure everybody understands that the evaluated materials, when you're going to go pick a product, that if it's not an ABA evaluated air barrier, that you probably are not comparing apples to apples. So material testing is very, very important. And Marcy, I know your organization does a great job. All of your materials are in there, and every organization realizes that this is a minimum bar that they have to pass these tests to be considered an air barrier. And most of the specification writers out there won't even look at an air barrier unless it is ABA evaluated.
Absolutely. We got a couple questions coming in already, so actually several of them. So I just wanted to address one real quick. One of the questions that just came in was, how does the Air Barrier Association of America work with other groups to promote building science and air barriers? Do you want to take that one real quick?
We have 1,000 learning units done, so educational hours that we provided. So we do a lot of presentations. We also have memorandums of understandings with other organizations. We work very, very closely with them. Anything air barrier, we want to be, involved. We want to help. I think it's the really cool part about this being a member organization. We want what's best for the industry. There's no fighting for territory. If it has anything to do with air barriers, we're going to help, whether it's EMA or SWRI, whomever. We're very willing to work with them, and we try to work with all of the other organizations.
Yep, and I know SWRI is definitely one. I know we're collaborating. I'm working on a couple things with them, working directly with the Air Barrier Association of America. So we're definitely seeing that.
Absolutely.
So I know number 2 is how we're involved with ABAA contractors. Tell us a little bit about that.
So we want the contractors to understand the air barrier business. It's very important for us to have ABAA accredited contractors, which means that when they go to work, they understand the importance and the list all the way through, including, Marcy, if you would, the next slide, that they have certified labor force. So the installers have to be certified. The contractor has to be bonded. They have to have all the right steps, but the ABAA is a resource for them. To me, the most important person in any air barrier project is the person installing the air barrier. Because as easy as it can sound when we're in an office, and Marcy, you and I have joked about this over time, it's really easy to tell somebody from an office what to do. When they're in the field, it's much more difficult, and that's why you're involved in job site meetings and you do all this sort of stuff. But if you're going to be doing an ABAA job, as you can see down in the corner, there is a card that shows that this person has been fully trained, that they've passed all the tests, and if it is an ABAA job, you always have to have an ABAA certified installer on that job. So not every person on the crew has to be, but you have to have at least one person at all points in time. So that's super important, because if it's just go ahead and slap it up, that's an issue. I mean, every one of us who, when we look at air barriers, the biggest fear is that it's going to be installed incorrectly. You could have the greatest product in the world, but if you don't install it correctly, it will fail. And by the way, just as a flashing guy, the greatest thing ever to happen to flashings is air barriers, because we always got blamed for the leaks when nobody was filling the holes in on the wall up above it. So super job, everybody. We appreciate you filling all the holes in so we can catch the water and get it out of the building.
Knowing how important training is, training for the contractors, a question just came in to ask us, are you guys still, is ABAA still training in these post-COVID times? Are we going to virtual learning?
That's an awesome question. In fact, that may have come from somebody at the ABAA. We just did our first virtual classes, and they seem to go very well. In fact, they sold out, and I think it's a great time to be doing it. So we are moving with the times. We're doing a lot more virtually, and what we're trying to do is make a whole series of training series of it, not just for the installers, but also for the auditors, which we'll be talking about next. But no, we have done our first online trainings, which are great, but we still love to have the hands-on part. The hands-on part's just super important. And we're looking at, how can we take costs out of the system? I get that people have to travel for the in-person trainings, but we don't want to lose that hands-on part, because that's very, very important. So we're working at making it better and more affordable all the time.
A suggestion just came through about this training, and that I'm sure there's manufacturers out there that would be willing to put together kits so that when you're doing the virtual training, then the hands-on portion can occur, as it similarly did at a BEC meeting, where I think a manufacturer handed out some materials and they were able to do hands-on virtually. So definitely, I'm sure there's a lot of manufacturers out there, I'm raising my hand, that would be interested in helping out with that type of hands-on training. I think it's great from a virtual perspective. I know there's been a lot of interest in training, and a lot of times it was hard to either get the class to the person or the person to the class, or else we didn't have enough signed up in that particular area. So I think this is probably a good thing, right? It's giving that person that ability to attend, but like you said, we don't want to miss out on that hands-on portion as well. So
absolutely, and kudos to whoever had that idea, and I definitely will be sharing that idea. I think that's an awesome idea. And again, yeah, it's difficult for people to, go away for several days, travel, go away for several days, being away from the job site, that sort of stuff. So just like the universities are figuring out how to teach kids, and the local schools are trying to teach kids, we're going to evolve and get better at this. And hopefully, this COVID thing, if anything good comes out of it, is that we all got pushed a little further with online trainings and doing that sort of stuff. So yeah, terrific suggestion. Thank you.
And we did talk a little bit about the training for auditors as well. So here's just some more information about that. As you mentioned.
It's and obviously there's training for auditors. Auditors are very important. And when we talk about it as a group, I always say it's as simple as 1, 2, 3. 1, you have to have good materials. 2, you have to have trained installers. And 3, you have to have somebody watching over them. And one of my favorite stories is the state of Maine ran out of money a few years ago. So our state budget, we ran out of money. So they informed us on the news in the morning, if you need any state police officers, there will be one in the middle of the state, which is about 150 miles from where I live, and there will be another one by the main mall. So we all, the people I drive by every day going to work, we were all doing the speed limit. And as soon as we saw that state trooper, it was the Indy 500. I mean, little old ladies were passing me doing 100 miles an hour. I was doing 90 and I was in the slow lane. If that's good people, sometimes can take advantage of a system, right? We hope that our trained installers never would. They're trained, they know what they're doing, but to have an auditor come in and just guarantee that everything's going as planned and everything's going correctly, and they also offer help of it's not just you're doing this wrong. This is how it could be done better. So no, we're very proud of our auditors and what they do, and they're a big part of the system, because without oversight, corners can be cut. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen.
And detailing of corners is so important.
Absolutely. So really all of that together is what the quality assurance program is. And just that's an ISO program that's been developed and been out there with ABAA. We're currently revamping that. We're improving it, and we're always trying to improve it. But you put all of that together of good materials, great installers and supervision, and then you throw on top of it that all of that information goes back to the ABA's technical staff, and they review all of it to make sure that your job's done and done right. The hard part is communicating the whole program out there. I had one the other day that came into me that the contractor said it was going to cost $45,000. It actually cost $2,400 for the oversight, for the the auditor to go out and all that sort of stuff. So sometimes people make mistakes. Sometimes they want to cut corners. We're all human. Things like that happen. But if you want a building done and done right, your best chance is with the ABAA's QAP program. So we're proud of the program. We're working on it. And if you ever have suggestions of how we can make it better, we're here to learn. I love about this organization that you can sit in the room with some of the smartest people in the industry and there's zero ego. We just want to get things right. So whatever we can do to help there.
Well, ironically, there's a question about the QAP program, and lots of information that's provided, obviously, by this program. There's lots of information that you can speak to, but can you simplify? The question is, can you simplify the program in 3 simple steps?
3 simple steps, and I think I've said it a couple times, but evaluated materials, trained installers, and oversight. That combined is what we believe will give you a successful job site. And that's about as much as you can boil that one down. Is we want to make sure that everybody's trained and everybody's doing the right stuff.
So
Marcy, it makes your life a lot easier when everybody's trained and doing the right stuff, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I like getting the audit. I still get the audit reports. It's a great tool for me to be able to get a variety of installation pictures. It gives me adhesion data. feedback, of how things are being installed. So it's still a constant tool for us from an education perspective. But I know the star of today is the Certified Air Barrier Specialist, which is brand new, right? It's coming out in September, I believe.
It's actually, it's going to launch in September. It's been a 6-year process to get all of this done. It is a really, really cool certification, and this is for everyone who deals with anything to do with air barriers. We like to call it the gold standard. Marcy, your company has several different types of air barriers, from liquid applieds, membranes, all that sort of great stuff. But the Certified Air Barrier Specialist goes far beyond just knowing your product. It's knowing all the different types of products. There's multiple types of air barriers. It's also understanding testing. It's understanding the codes. It's understanding everybody's role in the process. And if you wouldn't mind, one more slide would be great. So it's, as you can see here on the slide, this is what the test involves. And what we're trying to do is what we've done with evaluating materials, with certifying installers and training the auditors. This is for everyone else in the industry. This is for the consultants. This is for the sales reps and the technical departments. This is for the general contractors. If anybody's familiar with CSI, they have their CDT program. And I was the president of the main CSI. So it really surprised me that if 10 people took it, 8 of them work for general contractors, because when you're educated and when you understand what's going in, you're mitigating your risk. You really lower your risk if you're understanding what's coming at you. And what we heard all the time from architects and specification writers was, we want to have a trusted advisor. We wish we had a way to know that somebody was well trained and well versed in air barriers. Now, lots of folks are really well versed in their product or their product category, but to understand all of the categories and all of the roles, I always joked with my team when I make them take the CDT, and I said, before you take the CDT, you think when drawings are in DD, it's Dunkin' Donuts, right? Well, I mean, you laugh, Marcy, but it's understanding the language, it's understanding, this end of the industry. And I think for the air barrier industry, this is long overdue. We all need to be using the same language. We need to be fighting the battle, because I have never met a person who goes out there to do a bad job. I mean, nobody wants to have an air barrier that fails or that allows water to leak in. So we're really proud of this program. The study manual's coming out, which I think the manual's worth the entire course, because it might as well be called, everything you need to know about air barriers. And it's been a real long time coming, because it is that thorough. And the test takes about 2 hours and it has been vetted out. So we're real proud of this one. I think this is going to be the gold standard in our industry for quite a few years.
Well, I'm a big nerd, because when you said it's going to contain everything you need to know about air barriers, I actually have chills. So I'm excited. I'm excited about that for sure. You know how much I love the air barrier world. So a question just came in. This program sounds amazing. I know there's been a lot of effort, energy put into it, and it's been many years in the making. In your opinion, do you think that this program should be the prerequisite for some of the other certifications that are coming out in the industry today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things, that's caused this to take a little bit longer. This is an ISO, I think it's ISO 17024. This is an ISO course. This is, we wanted to make sure that this is something that you could base other tests on. And, we've done a really great job putting it together. When I say we, I just do the marketing side. But there's a lot of great people who've worked very hard to make this happen. And yeah, I think, we will be working. We've already had conversations with other organizations for their credentialing, that this should be a prerequisite for it.
I know we will embrace it. Obviously, Brian Stroik has told me a lot about this. I know we're all very excited about it. I will challenge people out there that when I take the test, if they beat my score, they'll get a Tremco hoodie or something. I think I did that last time when I took the ABAAA starter test, and Scotty Stinson beat me. And I still I don't know if I ever sent him his Tremco hoodie. So shout out to Scotty for beating me on that test. I think Dante Marin Petrie might have beat me too. So I got a 95. So, but anyway, so we'll have some fun with that. Obviously, education is so critical and so important, and kudos to everyone involved in this. This is great. Absolutely. We have a few more minutes, so let's take a quick look at some of the other things, obviously, that you guys are involved in with the Air Bear Association of America.
Yeah, so the ABAA has been working with the state of Washington because blower door testing is becoming, as of February 1st of 2021, blower door testing is mandatory. And you can't just say, oh, I'm going to fix a few seals and put a little caulking here. They have to fix it before they can get their occupancy. So we've had a group working with them, and we're also doing a lot on blower door testing. We're coming up with certification for blower door testing. So, somebody just doesn't go around buying one and passing everybody, but it's it's teaching them how to do it and how to do it right. So a big effort's been there. Also, we've been doing a lot of work with the state of California, and they're going the same direction with air bearers, with blower door testing for their codes. So that's coming up very soon. So I think Washington's the first one to go, and then it's going to be California. And I think the rest of us already get this, right? Usually something happens either in Canada or in Washington state, and then it goes out to the rest of the country. So the ABAA has been super involved in this. We want to help everybody get it right. We want your buildings to be right. So if we can get ahead of this, if we can be a positive force in making sure that the codes are reasonable, and that we have people who are trained to be able to make sure that your buildings can meet those codes, it's very, very important to us. So some good stuff there. Marcy, if we click over to the next one, we have a lot of fun stuff going on. So I just talked a little bit about the whole building air tightness. We're developing the training manual and also a new certification program for that. And next one is Tremco's been very involved in this one, helping out the fastener penetration project. Because currently, whenever somebody says nail sealability, how many of us put buildings up with nails?
I know. It's
right? We put them up with screws.
For me too.
We put them up with screws.
Threaded fasteners.
Right. So and so then you take a look at it, and we're ASTM D1970. That's a roofing underlayment, right? So that's a sloped roofing underlayment, and we're using that on walls. And so none of it fits. So we're working on a fastener penetration project to try to get more realistic numbers to make things more achievable, but just more common sense. Because when they came up with codes, they said, well, we have one sort of like this, we'll put it in there. I mean, I'll never forget the night that I was having a beer with Joe Stebrick and listening to all those guys. They said, well, we threw a number out because we had to have a number, but we figured somebody would fix it. And the whole everybody out in the field is going, well, that's the number. So, I mean, what we have to do is be reasonable. We have to get the right things done. And Marcy, the test lab at Tremco was just awesome to work with and get all of that done, and some very interesting results. The next project that we're working on is the energy savings calculator. We did that. We funded that with Oak Ridge National Laboratories. So when you do a QAP project, and there's a charge in there along with the auditor, all of that money is used to go and do these projects. So we supported Oak Ridge National Laboratories in doing this, and you put in what type of building you have, where in the country you are, and it tells you how much energy you can save. But more than that, it's moisture transfer. Buildings go bad when they leak. So we're doing a lot more with that. The new version's coming out very soon, so we've been hard at work on that one. So that's really cool stuff when you're working with the government. This is the top end stuff, and this is some of the things that you don't get to see every day from the ABAA, but it is what we're working on. And I think I had one more in there, Marcy.
You got one more here?
Yep, and the adhesion of air barriers project. right? So most of the time, what if, Marcy, it's 16, is it 16 PSI or 6?
Yes, it's 16 PSI
Yep.
is what people typically require. We've seen as high as 32 or more on some projects.
Yep. But 16, do you know why we settled on 16? Because that's usually when the facer on the exterior chipboard went.
Ah, okay.
So is that realistic? Is that necessary? So we're questioning everything. We're trying to make things better. And we would love to have you join the ABAA, not you, Marcy. We already know you're in. And we appreciate that. But
we want you to join the ABAA.
Yeah, only you. So, but the more we work together, the more we all pitch in a little, the better we can make our industry. And that's really what we're trying to do. And why I love being part of this organization is we do stuff. So that's
stuff. We've made a lot of friends, got a lot of friendships through it. And it's cross collaboration through manufacturers, right? All the manufacturers coming together. And then industry associates like consultants, architects, engineers, and of course our contractors. So it's been a great journey. I was very, very happy to be a part of it for all the years that I was. I was happy to pass that torch along after we all worked very hard to get Brian Stroik on board, and then he joined Tremco. So it was great to have him, even being able to work even closer to him. So one final question. We are at 33 minutes in, so I did mess up the first 2 minutes, so that's me. I got a question here. We did mention on LinkedIn this morning that we were going to be winding out your week and toasting the ABAA, so toasting the Air Barrier Association of America. We want to raise our glasses to the Air Barrier Association of America. I have my Pabst Milwaukee glass because I love anything from Wisconsin. So my question for you, why is Wisconsin the best place for bourbon? Is the last question that came in for you, Craig.
Why is Wisconsin the best place for bourbon?
Yeah.
Now, I think I know who sent that one in, and Wisconsin's a wonderful place to have a bourbon.
To have a bourbon. Okay.
To have a bourbon, but definitely Kentucky. Definitely Kentucky is the spot to go. Wisconsin has some nice bourbons coming up, as everybody can see behind me. This is my home office. It's also my hobby, so we have some fun with it. But if you notice, the bottles are all still closed right now. We'll have one in just a little bit. But Marcy, to you and the Tremco team, thank you for all of the support for the ABAA over the years. You guys have been incredible, awesome to work with. And really appreciate it, and appreciate the opportunity to talk to everybody on the podcast today. And thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Craig. Thank you so much for your friendship. Thanks to the Air Barrier Association of America. And thanks for everybody for joining us today on Tremco Live. For those of you that know me, you know this is a labor of love for me to be able to talk to everybody every single Friday. Having Craig co-host with me representing the Air Barrier Association of America has been spectacular. Just want everyone to stay tuned for next Friday as we continue with our Industry Association Month, and we will have Kelly McBride, who is the president of the Sealant Waterproofing and Restoration Institute. So join us next Friday, and everyone have a happy and healthy, safe weekend. Thanks.
Have a great weekend. Thank you.